Hello friends, welcome to this course on Specflow in .NET Core. Before I dive into the list of topics that I will be covering in this course, let me tell you what kind of tools and technologies I will be using to finish this course. So I'll be using Mac operating system, then C# .NET with Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio as an editor, then a Specflow framework, .NET Core technology. I'll be using unit testing framework and Selenium library. So all these tools I'll be using in this particular course. Now let us see what kind of topics I'll be covering. First topic that I will be covering is installation. Here we will learn how to install .NET Core on your system, how to install Visual Studio. Then Straight8 is one of the plugin that is required. It is optional actually to create the feature files, but if you like, you can install that Straight8 plugin. Then we'll create the simple unit project, and I will also explain how to install the packages for creating a Specflow project. So that is all that will be covered in the first topic or first lecture. In the next lecture, we will write first a scenario in our feature file, and I will explain you how to execute that scenario, even if there are no step definitions defined for those steps in the scenario. And then in the later sections, I will explain you how to write actual step definitions for your scenarios. In the next lecture, I will be talking about Gherkin language, history of the Gherkin language, what is the syntax to write the Gherkin scenarios or feature files, what are the keywords that are used. And I will also be talking about what kind of frameworks are available in the market apart from Specflow. For example, in Java, there is a Cucumber, which is very popular BDD framework in Java. So apart from this Specflow and Cucumber, there are other frameworks as well that exist. In the next lecture, I will be talking about data models. Here I will tell you how you can create business entity model for your project or business requirements. Next video is about step definitions. So here I will tell you how you can map your scenario steps to the methods in the binding class, how to write the regular expressions while doing that, and how to pass the parameters from the scenario to the step methods in the binding class. Here I will be talking about how you can pass the data in tabular format and then read it in the step definition class. Next lecture or the topic is about sharing data. In big project, what happens is step definitions or step methods are split into different binding classes, and to share the data from one binding class to the another class, there are several ways you can do that. So static way is one of the way in which you can share the data between different binding classes, but which is not recommended. I will tell you how you can use dependency injection, where you will use feature and scenario context to share the data between different binding classes. Next lecture is about hooks. In certain scenarios, what you need to do is you have to execute certain code before and after each scenario. For example, in case of a Selenium tests, what you have to do is before executing the test, you have to start the browser, and at the end of the test, you have to close the browser. So these actions you have to do for every scenario. So in such scenarios, what we do is we use hooks. So hooks are basically certain methods that get called automatically before and after that scenario is executed. So which is very useful feature in Specflow or any other BDD framework. Next lecture is about test context, where I will tell you how you can get the contextual information about your test or scenario. For example, you want to find out if the scenario has failed, or you want to get the title of the currently executing scenario. So how you can do that using test context. Next lecture is about test execution. Here I will tell you how you can execute the test using .NET test command, what all parameters are available for you, and how to generate the report, simple report, XML report basically. And I will tell you how you can filter the test using the tags. In the next lecture, I will be talking about scoped bindings and hooks. Here I will tell you how you can execute hooks for certain scenarios. Now we have already like in the previous section, I told you like we can use hooks to execute the tests or methods before and after certain scenarios are executed. But those hooks will be executed for all the scenarios. In certain situations, what we want to do is we want to execute the hooks only for certain scenarios, and for other scenarios we want to execute other hooks. For example, if you are trying to execute the test for Selenium and API as well. So for Selenium test, you want to start and close the browser before executing the test. Like before starting the scenario, you want to launch the browser, and at the end of scenario you want to close the browser. But for API test, you don't want to execute that hooks. So with scoped bindings and hooks, what happens is that you can tie certain hooks to the scenarios using tags. So what happens is that those hooks will be executed for only certain scenarios that are having those tags. So we will cover that in this particular lecture. Next thing or the lecture that I will be covering is logging. Now Serilog and Log4j are very popular logging frameworks in C#.NET. So I will be talking about these frameworks, how to integrate those logging frameworks in our Specflow. In the next lecture, I will be talking about how to generate the XML report for our test execution, how to customize that report, how to add the screenshots in your reports. All those things will be covered in reports lecture. And finally, that is very important lecture, that is Selenium and page object models, where I will tell you how you can use page object models, how you can map the pages to the classes and use them when executing your Selenium tests, and how to write your Selenium scenarios or tests using Specflow. I'm sure that this course will be very useful to you if you want to work on any .NET Core project, especially if you are using Selenium and Specflow. So do not forget to watch all the videos in this series or course. Thanks for watching this video.